Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Okay, thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. We are joined today by the effervescent Tabitha Rickard. There you go. My name is Jay Fallon. I'm the Slippery Slope podcast, obviously. My pronouns are the legend. Tabitha, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You got a pronoun? What's your pronouns? I don't want to miss.
What do I feel today? It's all about feelings, isn't it? But I'm going to stick true. I like to just stick to facts. So I'll just be referred to as a biological female.
Biological
woman.
Female. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, in that case, if we're sticking to facts, well, yeah, that's always been my fact. I've been the legend my whole life. So what can I say?
True. Yeah.
Also, I've told my children anyway. I've enforced it upon them when they were little. You had to call me the legend. Then I wondered why my kids couldn't take me seriously. But hey, they've turned out good adults. Hey, so listen, Tabitha, I wanted to talk to you about a few things going on in Victoria. I been reading things about what's happening in Victoria, and you sit there going, where? For one, I still don't understand, but it's probably nationwide really, how the Andrews government is still in power, how he seems to be so popular in so many areas. I think I told you before when I was talking before, I used to be a police officer and I was a working covert surveillance. So you're doing physical surveillance unit. And, we worked in a lot of big jobs. You're doing major investigations, major crime, all this kind of stuff. But you do these investigations and you realize, while there's this big web of people involved and all these things happening, when you investigate and get down to everything, I can't ever remember any time when investigators came back and said, we just can't work anything out. We just don't know what happened. It's like throwing their hands up in the air. And yet I was reading this article the other day. I'll see if I can bring it up for us all to check out. And it's like, this is what the Labor government have now said. They're treating us like a couple of fools. It's just Labor can't find the culprit for dead membership renewals. No, I mean,
maybe they're dead.
So just so everyone knows what we're all. So the Victorian Labor has closed a brief. It's only brief internal probe into the renewal of party memberships for dead people, declaring
internal probe too. Internal.
Exactly. Couldn't find it. So they've declared it was unable to identify who allegedly forged their signatures. Inaugural party monitor John Thwaites reviewed the former Laylaw South branch after records showed all these people had their memberships renewed in 2018 and 2019, despite both having died in 2017. I was reading this article and I realized there's only a very limited amount of people who could be the suspects, very limited. You go through, these are the people, these are the suspects, you whittle it all down, then you sit down and you start questioning people. You start talking to them. But tell me, go on, let's go. You know more about the Labor Party down there than I do. Give us the...
Look, my rundown is my personal experiences with the Labor Party have been, it is a common, what do we call it? Like just a common go-to response within their corrupt ways to just forget. I don't know. It's pretty much gaslighting. For me personally, when I was running in Lower House here, I had a situation where someone kept moving my billboards of like that you have up, and couldn't quite pinpoint it, but Labor's were always in place of where mine was originally. So couldn't help but wonder. And I got to the last day of pre-polling, and this time I was like, no, I'm gonna catch him out. So I set it up early. What was happening was I was setting up all my posters and everything, and then having to go drop my kids off because I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Part of being a biological female woman. I'm a mum. So by the time I'd take the kids to school and then get back to pre-polling, they'd move my signs and put theirs in place. So on this last day, I went into the electoral commission. I got the guy that was in charge of that polling booth. I got him to come out, check that it wasn't like, because there was a few times where like, oh, it was touching this or it was doing that, so we moved it, kind of thing. And so he proved everything. I'm like, it's not touching, it's not doing this, not doing that. It's definitely there. I took a photo and then I left. And then by the time I came back, came back, and the local Labor, Michaela, and her volunteers were all standing there, her board exactly where mine had originally been in the morning. And I just looked at it and I shook my head and just walked straight in and got the guy and came out. As soon as I walked out with him, she got in my face and she's like, "You're serious? Is it about the boards again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is actually." And she's like, "It's just a board. Like seriously, like, is that your campaign?" And I'm like, "If it's just a board, why did you move it?" And then she's in my face going, so at that point, I put my hands behind my back because I was getting agitated by it. And then I just took a small step in and very quietly said, "That's really disrespectful, Michaela." And she just went, whoa, did you see what she just did? Did you see what she just did? I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? I just said, "You making faces at me is really disrespectful." So anyway, he said, yes, her stuff was there. And I go, "Who moved it?" And nobody, like the volunteers was like, "I don't know. Did you move the boards?" "No." Who put up your board? Whoever put up your board in the exact spot where mine was is probably the one who moved mine. And nobody could recall who
Nobody
did
can
that.
recall.
Nobody.
I wonder
No one.
did they do an internal? Did
No,
they
it was,
internal investigation and say, "Oh, we can't find out who did it"?
yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
There's very limited amount of suspects, but we cannot find who did it. I
My
tell you
favorite
what,
thing.
you go.
My favorite thing though is I was going to say my favorite thing is I thought, well, screw it. I am going to move their board and put mine where it was. So I put it there, and then so she just stood in front of it. It's like, wow.
So the Labor government, they've been up to some really weird things the last, like I said, so we've got dead people, dead members who are able to renew their memberships beyond the grave. No one can work out who's done it. Daniel Andrews, he's decided, we're going to have the Commonwealth Games. It's going to cost a lazy billion, not, whatever. We're a rich country.
Yeah.
He gets a couple of companies come in or whatever, they come in, they do their investigations. Next minute, no one knows why or how the cost has suddenly blown out to this was it 4 billion or 6 billion, whatever it was. And he's like, "Well, yeah, I can't tell you exactly how, where it all is, but this is what I've been told. I'm not going to give you any proof, no evidence. Just have to believe me." And but we're canceling, pulling the pin on the whole thing. It's like, and there's a few other things going on down there. And it's like, I said, they're going, what is that going on with the Labor government? I mean, you expect a certain amount of lies and cover-ups, but it just seems explain it. What's going on?
I think it's the amount of years he's been in power. Like, I think, like when people just, they're corrupt, they're there, but over time, it just gets ballsier and ballsier and ballsier, like fraud. Like you'll get someone who will just do something little and they get away with it. I'm like, oh, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, I don't know if that's what's happening or if it's just pure incompetence. Like, are they hiding and acting corrupt, or are they just really, really, really incompetent?
Yeah.
And are they just making huge screw ups because they're incompetent? So like, have they just like, has it been like a volunteer has just thought, I know how to keep them, keep their memberships up, and has done it, and there's no integrity or audits or anything in there to like pick up on that.
Yeah. Well,
behavior.
yeah. When I read the article, that is the way it is. But yeah, and my point was, with investigations, it would be, like I said, very limited amount of people involved. It would be easy to whittle it down to a very small amount of suspects and get down to who it could actually be. But this seems to be it was an
internal investigation. I think if you seriously want to get to the bottom of something, you would go to an external investigator who doesn't have any conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
Like, it's who did this internal, like, do they have conflicts of interest? Like, yeah, well, they're part of the party. Like they want to protect their own party.
Protect it,
So why would you do that? Like
Anyway.
do it in a way that makes us look like we're trying, but
but
in our
not really.
favour.
And but with the Labor government down there, it seems like they don't care how corrupt they seem. It looks, everything they do lately seems corrupt. It looks corrupt. It does not look good. And it's just like, well, you just have to accept our word. That's it. I mean, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's I think it's just they're just cocky.
Just cocky.
Cocky. Yeah, they're cocky. They just up themselves and cocky, and you know, it's like I don't have to explain myself. Like I'm King Ping. So and if you don't like it, too bad. I'll just whack in a mandate and you can't work anymore.
And you can't work anymore. That's it. So there's a couple of things for us to finish off today. I just want to talk about. So the Commonwealth Games, and then we're going to move on to another subject, which is about, you were talking before about what's happened with your daughter, and sorry, it was your daughter, and the climate discussion. But the federal government has also, they've done a report, and apparently it's all about the climate crisis, but the report is so secret, the Albanese government won't even reveal the date it was completed. So they're not going to tell us anything. It goes on and says the Australian government is not only refusing to release its secret report, so it can't release the report, on how the climate crisis will fuel national security threats. It won't even say when it was completed. So yet, another weird thing from the Labor government. But yeah, first off, what's the word around the water cooler when it talks about Victorians with the Commonwealth Games?
I think like we were all like right from the beginning when he like committed to it. I think a lot of Victorians were like, "What the hell? Like, why would you commit to that? Like, we're in so much debt already. Like, why?" So it was really strange that he committed to it, and he had a plan, and he calls all the shots. So and like because we're in Ballarat, so I'm in regional Victoria, which is where like a lot of the games were going to happen. So much planning for like the last few years has been going on, and a lot of time and resources have just it was one of those when he announced that it's not happening, I'm like, man, I'd love to be back in local government to hear the conversations going on internally right now around like all their plans just dropped, and what commitments and promises have been made that he's apparently still sticking with. And it's like, well, why do we need that infrastructure now if the games aren't happening? Like, why would you still be committed to some of those projects?
Yeah, it didn't make sense when I was reading it. He said, the games are going to cost us this exorbitant amount of money. We can't do it. But hey, we're still going to do these other things for regional Victoria. And you sit there going, but that's a lot of the cost,
games aren't happening.
Yeah.
Like, so why? Like,
so it's still going to happen. So you're still going to spend a lot of money anyway without the games.
And pay the debts for not hosting the game. It's just it's really sad because like I watched a news report on some of the Bendigo companies that have been really hard done by. So what has happened over in Bendigo with some of the businesses, and I don't know if it's happened here in Ballarat, but they were speaking out because I'm guessing they had contracts or tenders that they had won to do aspects to be a part of this Commonwealth Games. And one guy, he was doing like the comms, so like all the walkie-talkies and everything. And so he's already outlaid and purchased all the collateral. And some of it's already being shipped because it takes X amount, it takes so long to make it to standard to what the games say you have to have. And now it's not happening. So he's upfront paid for all these devices because he knows he's going to earn it. Like he's going to get his return when the games happen because he's got the contract. And now that it's not happening, but he's in debt because he's already outlaid the costs.
Outlaid the cost.
So he was like, yeah, so like, so I don't know how many, and we haven't heard. I think that's just like the tip of the iceberg. I think there'd be a lot more businesses that are being shushed
Yeah.
around talking about that may very well be, it could push some businesses
Push them
into,
under.
yeah.
Because now there's talk about it possibly coming to Queensland, to the Gold Coast. The mayor, Tom Tate, he said he'd like to see it in Queensland, and laid out a few issues, what he thinks, and why he believes it's important for us. He wants to basically restore the image of Australia. He thinks it's been tarnished. It's been tarnished by Victoria. He seems like he's steered clear of just saying anything too derogatory towards the Andrews government. However, it does seem a little weird. Their excuses, what's going on down there, it's a whole Labor thing at the moment. I think, they in all forms here in Queensland, Victoria, the federal government. It seems to be like Labor says, well, this is it. We're telling you some information. We're not going to give you any proof of that information, but we're telling you the information, and you just have to trust us. So this is it's been a concern that I've had for quite a while, and you could see it happening. It was very clear when all the lockdowns and everything was going on. Victoria seemed to be hiding under this, all Victoria, the government. There was a veil of secrecy around everything. We have to have the lockdown. We have to do it. This is what the experts say. There was never any hard evidence supplied from these so-called experts about exactly why we have to do all these things. But hey, it's just take our word. When it came to people being arrested, I did a couple of reports. There was, this, I think she might have been Ballarat, actually, a youngish lady, I think early 30s. She's pregnant, very small, petite.
Yeah, I know her.
In the report, from a police perspective, if you're going to arrest someone, you don't, if it's some kind of hardened criminal, you might go around there last minute because the warrants last, they have to, you've got a certain time frame you have to do it. You're not going to go and pick up some little, she's just tiny thing. She's heavily pregnant. Go around to her house at 9 o'clock at night, all stand around and arrest her for something she wrote on Facebook. And then they hold it over her head for a couple of years. And then, this is a terrible tactic. I hate this about police all over the country do it. They hold it over your head. They know they're going to pull it. They're going to pull the charges. It gets held over her head for, I think it was 2 years. And then 2 years later, just before it all comes up, they say, oh, no, it's not in the public interest. We don't have to charge her now. We're just going to pull the charges. They could do that crap. Sorry, use strong language, but they could do that crap in the beginning. They know very well. And you see, I'm looking at this this poor girl, and she's pregnant. They did,
the punishment is the psychological and emotional abuse of those couple of years.
That secrecy they hold up, and you could see it happening in Victoria. They had the pastor that was arrested for putting something on Facebook about, hey, the church is not shutting down. They go and arrest him. There's all this veil of secrecy, and you could see it coming up, and it was coming up from Victoria, Labor government. We're starting to see it permeate around the rest of the country. Is that?
Yep.
Well,
yeah, even like a local cafe here who just refused to employment mandates, didn't apply by employment mandates, and didn't apply by locking people out. Like you could go to that cafe whether you're vaccinated or not. And they just kept getting, their fines just kept piling up, and then they went to court and they got all dropped.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the whole time we're saying all the other businesses, it's like they can't, they can't uphold that in court. But they are so scared about their own security that just they can't. The what if I do have to pay 10 grand, then I'm screwed, and there goes my business. So I'll just abide by it anyway.
And I've still got the cost for the lawyers.
Yeah, and then the people who just knew their rights and just stated it the whole time and didn't, they've gone on to court and it's just been dropped. Like they said would happen the whole time. And it's like, surely I'd hope to think that some of these businesses that were hugely into the narrative to the point that they were discriminating and excluding so many people from working or entering their businesses look at this and go, wow, like I was duped. Like I can't believe I allowed them to turn me into an oppressor, basically.
Yeah. But this narrative where, like I said, Labor governments, I don't want to, because, I'm not sitting here thinking, well, Liberals are just, but it just seems to be this weird thing where Labor at the moment can just, because they're empowered virtually everywhere. I can't think where aren't they?
So the history of the Labor Party split. Are you across that?
No.
No.
In Victoria, you mean?
Yeah. So Labor, because I was representing the DLP, Democrat Labor Party, who all our banners and everything, the real Labor Party. It's the split within the party was over communism, and so Labor that we have today, which is the American spelt Labor, is the ones who were for communism, and Democrat Labor, which is the party I'm with, when I was running for Lower House, is like the real Labor, the original who were anti-communism. And so I look at like some of the stuff that's going on in that, and it's very much to me in line with communism, socialism, or this weird blend of the two.
Yep.
And we're slowly being groomed into being okay with it. So,
anyway, it's just, like I said, you could see all this coming a couple of years ago when COVID hit, and it's like, wow, okay, so people were talking about, hey, what's happening in Victoria, and you could see now, I can sit there and go, wow, it's just permeated all throughout the land, this attitude with government that will just behave like Daniel Andrews. We just won't tell you everything. We won't tell you anything, really. We'll keep all our reports secret, and we'll just be more dictators. We've ended up with a land full of despots. That's what we've ended up with, Labor despots. Yeah. So
it's very narcissistic.
Very narcissistic, yeah. But hey, we'll have the voice, so it's all good. Oh,
I feel like it's just like, even if it didn't get voted in, they'd like do something. Like
you'll have to wonder.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Just don't. What is it? Tick or crosses at the moment? Don't tick or cross your.
Don't put a cross,
boxes.
But you can put a tick or something like that.
Yeah.
Just write no, people, for crying out loud.
Yeah. So definitely use words.
Yeah. Use words. N-O.
Use words.
No.
N-O.
Okay. Thanks very much, Luke, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
How can do you have anything else going on that you want people to know about?
If people are really interested in fact checkers and are in Victoria, check out Ballarat Library's event that's coming up.
Okay. Can people contact you anyway in particular?
I'm on Instagram mostly. So Tabitha, what is my thing? Tabitha_Rickard. I should check that. I don't know where my phone is. I think it's Tabitha_Rickard.
But look, if you see Tabitha's name here on the side there, look up Tabitha Rickard in Insta, and it's pretty easy to find you. It wasn't that hard to find you on Insta.
Yeah, I do all weird creative stuff, but yeah, always happy to chat. And now there's bits and pieces going on. So if you want updates, just follow me on Insta.
I'll check out this other video you sent me, and I'm still haven't seen it yet, but I'll find out. Is that on email?
Yeah, it's on Insta.
Oh, it's on Insta.
I shared a reel with you. Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, Tabitha Rickard, thanks very much for joining us. All the best to your family. Hope your hubby gets the studio done as quick as possible.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Hey, be blessed, hey. Thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers. All right, bye.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna bring me down. gonna say